Good afternoon. I hope you all had some great conversations about our Youth Services Committee. Right now, I'd like to invite Brian Blankenberg, Senior Private Client Advisor and VP with Bank of the West, to give this week's Secretary report.
Good afternoon. We have 3 birthitarians today. We have Rich Spong, who's retired Bank and Trust Administrator. We have Tucker Troutman, who is with Dorsey & Whitney in law. And then we have Craig McNeil here with McNeil Designer Portraits. Happy birthday. All right, we'll get to some announcements here. The Artists of the World Art Walk, scheduled for September 27th, has been rescheduled to Friday evening, November 1st. Please look for details in future email blasts as we get closer to the new November 1st Art Walk date, and be sure to mark your calendars now. We are still collecting contributions for the Colorado Rotary Flood Relief Fund. Links for donations are on website at www.drcf Denver Rotary. Just take a look at the meeting blast. It's a long email address. Save the date. The District 5450 Area 1 Club Assembly will be held the evening of October 29th at the Federal Reserve Building downtown. Look for registration information coming soon. We are strongly encouraged to attend that event. Don't forget, the deadline for the discounted Branch Rickey tickets is October 15th, which is just about 3 weeks away. Please make your reservations now to support our club's major fundraiser, which in turn supports our foundation, which grants money to all the youth programs we're highlighting today. Each week there are event updates on the slideshow here. Just make sure to take a look at that during fellowship each week. And lastly, I just want to say a hello to Bill and Sue Hornby. Thanks so much for coming today. We're glad to see you. It's been a little while. All right, first guest today is Gary Graca. He is the guest of Rotarian Peg Johnston, and he is an energy executive. Welcome, Gary. We have Sumit Kumar, who is the guest of Yashpal Kakar, and Sumit is a partner in software services. Welcome. We have Ramon Pizarro, who is a guest of Ed Crabtree, and he is a patent lawyer. We have Ian Urquhart, and he is the guest of Skip Ahern, and he's in the travel industry. And we have 2 guests of Adam Hughes. We have Leo Peng, and he is in e-commerce, along with fellow guest Trista Yan, and they're both in e-commerce. Welcome. We have 2 flag exchanges today. First one up, we have John Pedley, and he is from a club in the UK. Come on up, John.
Thank you everybody for the lovely welcome. I come from a small club called Orpington, which is southeast of London, about 16 miles out of London, and our membership would fill 2 of these tables. So you guess we're rather small. But I bring greetings from our President Terry, and if any of you would like to come visit us, you'd be very welcome, as long as you don't all come at once. Okay. Thank you very much.
We have another visiting Rotarian, Yashpal Kakar, and he is a past president of an Indian club.
Friends, and brothers, sisters. It's a real pleasure to be here with one among all of you, and it's a great pleasure that this club is the oldest club over here, and perhaps when Paul Harris was there, he would have come here and must have participated in this club also. It's my pleasure and my honor. I'll take these memories back to my home. Thank you.
So I took our jokes today from the Ig Nobel Prize, and for any of you that are unaware of what that is, it's kind of a spoof off of the Nobel Prize, and I thought it'd be appropriate today for the patent lawyers that I'm sure have seen some pretty interesting patents come across their desk, and they're wondering, why would anybody want to patent this? But so in 2013, there's a couple interesting ones. The Medicine Prize is for assessing the effects of listening to opera on heart transplant patients who are mice. We have a Psychology Prize for confirming by experiment that people who think they are drunk also think they are attractive. And we've got 3 that were of note in 2012. I'll go quickly. Psychological Prize, leaning to the left makes the Eiffel Tower seem smaller. A Chemistry Prize for solving the puzzle of why in certain houses in the town of Sweden, people's hair turned green. And then lastly, and this is probably my favorite, it's the Literature Prize. The U.S. Government General Accountability Office for issuing a report about reports that recommends the preparation of a report about the report about reports about reports. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Will Snyder, Trust and Investment Officer with A&B Bank, for our networking moment.
Thank you, President Allison. It's great to be back. I was gone last week, and I was out on the Western Slope on business, and I was immediately reminded how very important Rotary is and how very integrated it is in every community that I was in. I wore my pin. I met 3 Rotarians, all of which were younger than myself. And it really, when we started our meeting today talking about youth, I said, you know what, Rotary really consists of a cross-section of every business community within a community. And by taking part in local and regional Rotary initiatives, you'll meet a wealth of professionals. Networking happens naturally within our groups. I'll tell you how naturally it happens. Having studied sociology in college, I stood at the door today and I met an agribusiness farmer, a sod farmer, a realtor, a machinist, an auto appraiser, a doctor who gave birth to 13,000 babies, an architect, a professional photographer, a patent attorney, 3 retired Marines, our first exchange student for this club from 1962, 2 nonprofit professionals, and a few lawyers, not to mention a few. But what I realize is that we're becoming more and more relevant, and we're more and more relevant to youth in this country. And I went online, and I wanted to read you this quote because it really speaks a lot to the revitalization of what's happening in Rotary. This is from a Rotarian, a 29-year-old Rotarian, Tina Chang in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She said, when I first heard Rotary, I said, what's Rotary? When I was 29, when you're in your 20s, you're not really thinking about the traditional club that can be seen as old school. Once you get in, you see that it really is about sharing experiences and making it work. Sharing experiences and making it work. The time is now, people. Allison has said it over and over. Reach out to your youth, support your youth, bring them in, give them experiences, help them grow, help them in Rotary. Come early, stay late, wear the pin. Stay plugged in. Thank you.
Thanks as always, Will. Now I'd like to invite Mark Donovan, paralegal with Wade, Ash, Woods, Hill, and Farley, to give this week's membership moment. Thanks.
Good afternoon, my fellow Rotarians. We know that the most effective recruiting strategy is to be invited to join Club 31 by another Rotarian. This is up to you. The time to recruit is now. Our membership committee members, blue ribbons on and at the ready, are here to make your recruiting as simple as possible. And we have to look no further than membership committee member Adam Yu to see what a great job your membership committee is doing. Thank you, Adam. These upcoming months present some really wonderful recruiting opportunities for us as a club. Let me give you an example of how this is starting to unfold. And I'll use as my example our August Rotary Connect meeting. At that particular meeting at the Rack House Pub, we had a crowd of 20 or 25 Rotarians and new potential Rotarians, along with representatives from an organization that we all dearly love, Denver Kids. In what is truly networking at its finest, Club 31 Rotarians mixed and mingled with Denver Kids board members, its CEO, our own Glenna Norville, director and new Rotarian Mike Rogie, and other staff from Denver Kids. The ideas were electric and thrilling. It's incredibly heartwarming, for instance, to learn that what the future holds for Denver Kids as it seeks to expand its services fivefold in the next 2 years. That's 5,000 kids. What an exciting time for Denver Kids, which Club 31 founded on the heels of World War II. Connecting with the people that we support is one of the things that our club is outstanding at. When you find out what our club is up to at opportunities like Rotary Connect, you can't help but generate enthusiasm and energy. That energy is contagious, and we need to share it. Your guests are already Rotarians. They just haven't joined yet. Let's help them with that, shall we?
You know, Mark definitely is a great example of our membership committee, and he is sponsoring today Michael Armstrong. And I'd like to invite you to the stage, please, to be welcomed as a new member today.
It's my distinct pleasure to introduce our newest Rotarian, Michael Armstrong. This is the part Michael thought I should be skipping, but it's good background, so I'll embarrass him for a moment. Michael received his bachelor's degree in international economics from the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown, followed by an additional accounting studies and a completion of his CPA. He holds an MBA from Harvard. Early on in his career, Michael led the highly successful turnaround of a small credit union as its CEO. He was later a portfolio manager at a private New York-based hedge fund, which he purchased and led the turnaround of a food distribution company. Building on his expertise, Michael currently owns an accounting practice that offers controller-level services to growing companies primarily along the Front Range. In addition, Michael has begun to work in the Denver investment community as part of due diligence efforts to assess private investments. Clearly, Michael continues to expand his skills while focusing the services he offers to growing companies and the investment community. A thoroughly well-rounded guy, Michael is passionate about helping children, particularly homeless children. His interests include hiking, gardening, cooking, and football. We definitely will grow and benefit from Michael's enthusiasm, tremendous skills, and passion. Please help me welcome our newest Rotarian, Michael Armstrong.
Michael, as you know, Rotary is a worldwide organization of businesses and professional leaders who provide humanitarian service, encourage high ethical standards in all vocations, and build goodwill and peace in the world. Approximately 1.2 million Rotarians belong to more than 33,000 Rotary clubs in 170 countries. We welcome you as a member of Rotary Club 31 because you are a leader and because you demonstrate the qualities of head and heart essential to sharing the message of Rotary through service and networking. We believe the principles of Rotary and Club 31 are safe in your keeping. You joined Rotary because your original sponsor helped you to understand how your life would be richer with Rotary in it. We invite you to explore committees and start networking with our trusted partners, other Rotarians. Once you take those actions, you will discover the true essence of Club 31, Rotarians, people with a soul for service. We look for you to inspire us to become better Rotarians as we serve our community and world each day. Thank you for making this pivotal decision to continue your Rotary commitment with Club 31 as your new Rotary partner, the largest, oldest club in the state of Colorado. We look forward to connecting with you in your journey of discovering your own passion for Denver Rotary projects. And thank you, Mark, for inviting and inspiring Michael. The time is now to engage Rotary and change lives. And welcome Michael Armstrong, our newest member. Next, we have a special visitor today, Ian Urquhart. I'd like you to come up to the stage. This just turned out, Ian is here visiting us, and he was our very first youth exchange student in 1962, so I thought it was a perfect alignment with our Youth Services Month this month.
Thank you, President Allison. Yes, I've come back here for the 50th reunion of the George Washington class that graduated in 1963. And I'd like to say thank you to the Rotary Club of Denver because you were my host for that year. And it was a most extraordinary year. Skip Ahern was my buddy in my class at school, and we've been buddies since then. I've had a career in the aviation industry, chartering aircraft, so I've had frequent visits back to the States, and I love it. My son, oldest son, when he was old enough, I phoned Skip and I said, it's time Angus had a year in the States, so he came to the States. When Skip's daughter was old enough, she came to Australia. My son went to Texas A&M, so the relationship between Australia and America has been very, very strong. And I looked at the flag there and I wasn't holding my hand on my heart because it's not my flag, but you will find that Australia is really very close to that flag. So I'd say thank you to you all. Thank you for having me.
Ian, we have a flag for you as well as a baseball from our annual fundraiser and a book about the 100 years of Denver Rotary. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'll just have to say one more thing. In 1963, I was given a silver dollar because that's what used to be given by the Rotary Club of Denver, the people who came the furthest to a meeting, and from Australia to Denver, fair way. And I've still got the silver dollar. Thank you, Alison.
Now, I'd like to invite Eb Crabtree to introduce our program speaker, John Poslumus. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. Thank goodness our forefathers remembered to include the following in our Constitution. It is Article 1, Section 8. The Congress shall have the power to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to the respective writings and discoveries. This article is the foundation of our current patent, trademark, and copyright system. When I got in the patent business in the early 1970s, we had issued between 2 and 3 million patents. Today, we now have over 8 million patents. The curve looks like this. John Poslumus is a shareholder in the law firm of Sheridan and Ross. Not only is John a very good patent attorney, but he and others from Colorado, and this was a tough one, figured out how to take a certain amount of power from the Department of Commerce in Washington and move it to Denver. No easy task. His efforts should be applauded. Please welcome John Posthumus. John.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you, President Allison. Thank you for having me as well. And really appreciate it's quite an honor to be here today and to talk about this project that we've been working on for over 4 years. And so it's as I'll get to as we kind of go through this process of describing where we've been, where we're at presently, and where we're going with this project. You'll find that I think it satisfies the 4 truths that President Allison talked about at the start of the meeting, and I was struck by that when she was talking about those things. So I will kind of incorporate that into my discussion because I think it's definitely applicable here. So where have we been? In 2008, we started this process. It was the first year of a 3-year leadership rotation that I was undertaking with the IP section. It's called the Intellectual Property section of the Colorado Bar Association. And the other 2 leaders and myself got together, and we decided what can we do to promote the practice of patent, trademark, copyright law for our bar membership. One of the things that resonated at that point was the possibility of bringing a patent office to Denver, and as well as bringing a patent office to anywhere outside of Washington, D.C. And before I get into this, I want to just give you a little bit of background of what the patent office looked like at that point, and really the importance of what we're looking at here in terms of the role that the patent office plays in economic development. Because obviously, as Ed mentioned a little bit earlier, the patent office is under the Department of Commerce, and there's a reason for that. So the patent office in 2008 operated in one location in Alexandria, Virginia. Had approximately 7,000 patent examiners. The 7,000 patent examiners have science and engineering background, which makes sense, right? You need to review patent applications filed by inventors really across the world, and you need to be tech savvy enough to understand what you're looking at to assess whether or not the application that's presented to you meets the statutory requirements for an invention, meaning that it's new and it's non-obvious based on what's in the public domain, and then and assess whether or not you're entitled to a patent. As Ed mentioned, it's in our Constitution, and there's good reason for that. In order to promote the science and the advancement of the arts, there's really a deal that the government works with inventors, and that is that if you disclose your invention to the public so that others can benefit and learn from what you've done, we're going to give you a limited monopoly. And that limited monopoly allows the patent owner to prohibit others from making, using, and selling your invention. And so that's kind of the deal that you make. Why is that important? Well, that process is important because in terms of economic development is because if you have small companies, small startups that develop innovation, that develop technology, they need money. And one of the assets that can be collateralized as part of that raising of money is a patent asset. It's something that has value when it's received. It has no value until the Patent Office grants those rights. And so it's very important that the Patent Office keep up with the schedule that a lot of companies have with regard to economic development and trying to grow from 1 to 10 to 100 and the monies and the fundraising that you need to accomplish those goals. So, but in 2008, there was a big issue, right, in the Patent Office. There was over 700,000 patent applications that were waiting to be reviewed. They haven't even been picked up by an examiner to review those applications. There was a pendency, what's the term of art called a pendency, which means that how long does it take from when you file your application to when you receive a patent? And it was running on average about 36 months, about 3 years, a little over 3 years on average. But if you looked at the hot technology areas, you were looking at 4 or 5 years out, right? So you can imagine if I'm a startup business or I'm even outside of a Fortune 500 company where you may have a 3-year rotation in terms of your development, if I had to wait 5 years for the Patent Office to decide whether I have something and then I'm going into the marketplace without any type of legal protection. People can copy me, they can roll over me. I'm not able to raise funds, I'm not able to move my business along. And so it was a real big issue. The other thing that was there as well was something called recruitment and retention. There's no reason why you should have 7,000 scientists and engineers working in one location in Alexandria, Virginia. They don't have a monopoly on scientists and engineers. There was really just that one office location was really came out of operating in DC for over 200 years. There used to be things called shoeboxes before computers became prevalent in the patent office. Examiners would go into the basement literally and do searches with patents and patent files that were literally in shoeboxes. They used to call them shoeboxes. Today, that's all gone, right? Everything is electronic. Everything is searchable through computer means. And so there's really no reason to have anyone, this organization, operate in one location. So the first question that we ask here, I guess, at Rotary is, what is the truth, right? And so let's think about it from this perspective. Are there strong policy reasons behind having a satellite patent office? Meaning that moving patent offices outside of Alexandria, Virginia to the rest of the country. And so, I think it's a strong belief, and this was borne out by total bipartisan support for this project, that the truth is certainly plain and evident in this situation. The concept of a patent office makes strong policy sense. There's no reason to operate at one location, as I've just gotten to. It opens up a new pool of workers, new pool of scientists and engineers who won't travel to Alexandria, Virginia to work at the patent office, who love, for instance, living in Colorado and the lifestyle and the quality of life that you have here, but who could certainly benefit the patent office if they were to work there. So, and that, I think, can be said for almost large pockets of the entire country, right? I mean, there's great people everywhere, and it's really important for the patent office to open up those pools of talent to help them with the recruitment and retention issues that I mentioned. The patent applications that are filed in the patent office don't all come from Virginia, for example, or Alexandria. They come from the entire United States. So it's really important that the patent office look at a way of what we call stakeholder outreach. We need to go to where our customers are, not force our customers to come to where we're at. So there's a little bit of that. And then the final point, which I want to make, and I think it's really when you deal with government and you deal with the truth, so to speak, is that these projects, the opening of these patent offices, have zero taxpayer liability. The patent office is one of those unique agencies that relies strictly on user fees. In order to you file your patent application, you pay a fee. You obtain an issued patent, you pay a fee. If you need to maintain your patent, you have to pay another fee. All of the monies that go to the patent office come from people who use, companies, individuals who use the patent office services. It takes zero money away from the budget, from the general fund. There's nothing that is taken from in terms of taxpayer money. And that is a beautiful point, I think, to make, because most people don't understand that. Okay, so we started thinking about this in 2008, but there was one thing that happened. Obviously we had to have an election and then a new administration come in at that time, whether it was going to be Obama or McCain at that point. So that we waited to kind of start this process until the following year in January or in June of 2009. And I want to call out two specific people that I think were critically important. Our first two meetings were with Tom Clark of Metro Denver EDC, which I'm sure most of you know, and Don Elliman, who at the time was head of economic development for the state of Colorado and Governor Ritter. And so we had two meetings with them, separate meetings, where we basically went to them, and at that point, I'm working on this with the two other leaders of the IP section. We're just patent lawyers. We're just kind of have this crazy idea of, let's bring a patent office to Denver, but we have no idea how to do that. So we go to these two individuals, and we have these meetings, and they lay out a great framework for us to kind of bring this together. And it really was eye-opening from the standpoint that you have to run kind of the political component alongside the strong policy arguments and run those two in parallel to really make this work, right? I have a favorite saying, because I think, Washington, D.C. is where good ideas go to die. And it's really kind of true if you think about it, or they go there and then they kind of linger and people don't act on them. And that's the reason you have to have the politics on your side. You can go and make the strongest policy arguments, and it can make all the sense in the world, but if you don't have the politics lined up and you're not working the politics, it's never going to work. And that's the strong message that both Tom Clark and Don Elliman gave us at that time. So, and then in that summer, we started our meetings. We had our first meeting in D.C. It was really three components. We met with members or staff for the entire congressional delegation, Colorado congressional delegation. Everybody was very supportive of it. We met with folks in the administration that we had developed contacts with, and the administration was very supportive of this. And then one of the critical components, one of the earlier messages that was given to us, is that we had to meet with the Patent Examiner Union, believe it or not. And they were a key component, because in order to move and open up different patent offices, you had to have the union involved. So one of our first meetings was with the head of the patent examiners union. And it turned out to be kind of a classic critical move that we made to really reach out to them at the start, keep them apprised of the situation. Turns out that it was somewhat of an easy sell as we got into the process, because the head of the Patent Examiners Union, sister, lived in Denver. And so he really started to understand this as a concept that it could potentially work. So we continued the process, right? Our first meetings are June of 2011, or I'm sorry, of 2010. We had meetings in September when the head of the patent office was confirmed by the Senate. Literally on the second day of his job, we got in to meet with him. We went to D.C. and we met with him. We sat down and he said, "This is a great idea. We're going to do this. We're on board with this." And so we started that process with the patent office, and everything was going great, right? We had further meetings in December of 2010, or I'm sorry, 2009, and then we flowed into 2010. In the first half of the 2010, patent office people are coming to Denver. They're looking at sites. Everything is kind of going hunky-dory. And then started the fall of 2010, things started to kind of get cold, right? We weren't getting responses. Things started to move in a different direction. And this is where the politics took over, because it turns out that the administration said that they told the patent office the first one is going to go to Detroit. And at the point, certainly Detroit at that time really needed help, right? They were in dire straits, and this was about a pure jobs grab for Detroit. But this is all about politics. Forget about strong policy reasons. This is all about politics, and politics dictated that it go to Detroit. And that announcement came in December of 2010, that Detroit would get the first patent office. So we were kind of left at a loss there, right? We had spent a lot of time getting to this point, had built up these relationships, and then had really lost out to Detroit. And so this is where I think this is kind of an informative story in terms of how the delegation and how you can work with the delegation to make things happen. And that is that I had a meeting with Senator Bennett's office in February of 2011. And we were just talking. It's like, okay, we're at our low point. What do we do? Where do we go from here? And it just so happened that patent reform legislation, which had been basically in Congress for every year for the 8 prior years at that point, every year had been introduced, really hadn't, the House and the Senate couldn't really agree on things, and then it had been reintroduced this year in 2011, was in the Senate, and Senator Bennett's office said, well, what if we drafted an amendment to that legislation that said that the Patent Office needed to open up 3 more offices in the next 3 years. And it was a fabulous idea. And so I worked with Senator Bennett's office to draft that amendment and to kind of make it and really kind of present it in a way that was fair, right? It wasn't an amendment that was drafted that says you got to put one in Denver. It was an amendment that was drafted that said you had to take these factors into consideration. One of those factors was the economic impact that the office would have in the certain area. And I'll get to that here in a minute. Senator Bennett, along with Senator Udall, introduced that on the Senate floor. It passes unanimously. It makes it into the bill that later that spring was finalized by the Senate. The House picks it up in May of 2011, and we get strong support from Representative DeGette, Representative Kaufman, and Representative Perlmutter. They all call the head of the Judiciary Committee and say, we would love to have this Satellite Patent Office Amendment part of the House version of the bill. And it was introduced into the House version, and the House considered it, and this is one of those kind of unique days or years, I guess, where patent legislation made it through both the House and the Senate, and ultimately was passed and signed by the President in September of 2011. It was the first major reform of the patent statute in over 50 years. It was long overdue. It needed to be done. A lot of things happened in that I won't address today, but I'm glad to answer after the meeting here. The biggest of which was it switched the patent system from a first to invent program really to a first inventor to file type of way of doing it. It brought the U.S. patent system in conformance with the practice worldwide. So that was great, right? That was kind of one of the defining moments was to get this legislation not only passed, but to also get it with this Satellite Patent Office Amendment as part of it. And Senator Bennett deserves all the credit for that, and he was fabulous in terms of marshaling that forward. So that kind of was the start of the process, right? And I think but the start of the next phase of this, which is, okay, now we have this legislation, the Patent Office has to do this, and I was told by the Patent Office that they would not have opened another office for at least 5 to 10 years absent this legislation. And the Patent Office, certainly had coverage with regard to this legislation because it was basically a congressional authorization to open up additional offices. So all around it was a good move, and they appreciated the move as well. So what happened next? What happened next is what I would, if we talk about is it fair to all concerned, right? And I think this is really kind of a good way of approaching it. This process was fair to all concerned because what happened next was the Patent Office said, we're going to open this up to the entire country for basically, you tell us why, they call it a request for comments, you tell us why we should put a patent office in your location. And then it became kind of a massive competition, right? It became a situation where we had 38 states competing for this. They had over 500 responses to the request for comments. They had, in those 38 states, they had 52 cities vying for these patent offices, and Colorado was one of them. And I was fortunate enough to work as part of a team, a core team that included Monisha Merchant, who's the Senior Business Policy Advisor to Senator Bennett, and Pam Reichert, who is the Vice President of Metro Denver EDC, and she works closely with Tom Clark. And so there was an additional group beyond that that really helped guide us through this process that included folks like Aurora Economic Development, Colorado Economic Development, State of Colorado Economic Development, as well as some other, the Computer Technology Association, a lot of different folks in the background here working. And so we made a business case, and so we had 2 months starting in December to work to get a presentation together. And so the three of us worked together to make a business case as to why it should come to Colorado and dealing with the issues that the Patent Office was having. First is recruitment and retention, right? And we all know, because we're all here, that Colorado has certainly favorable cost of living and certainly favorable quality of life. And it turns out that there's a lot of government employees that work in Colorado for those reasons. Because they can get paid a certain salary, but then they can live in great neighborhoods, be close to their to where they work, have great schools in their neighborhoods. There's a lot of factors that are certainly favorable that distinguish Colorado and the Denver metro area from other locations. The other aspect was access to the patent office. As I said a little bit earlier, you're looking at filers from across the United States and even the world. And so the patent office was well positioned geographically, or Denver's well positioned geographically. We're pretty close. We're about 900 miles, as it turns out, from the center of the United States. And so we're very close to the United States, very centrally located. We have a fabulous airport. That's the other thing that the patent office loved. We have great connections. I can't underestimate the value that the airport has with regard to economic development, and to give credit to the folks who had that vision to build DIA. And then the last thing, which was oddly enough kind of a tipping point for Denver, was fast tracks. The patent office loved the fact that we were getting fast tracks in from DIA to downtown. And the idea, their model, if you will, is that if you go to Alexandria, Virginia to visit the patent office, you fly into Reagan National, right? You get off, you get on the metro, and then 5 stops down off the metro, you get off in Old Town Alexandria, and then you got a 10-minute walk to the patent office. That's how things are done. That's their vision of how things are done. They could easily see that vision here in Colorado, kind of along the same lines. People coming in, patent owners and inventors flying to Denver to do business at the patent office, landing, getting on a train, coming to downtown, and I'll mention where we're at in a minute with regard to the location, but it's not coincidental that the location they selected here was 1 block away from a fast tracks line on California Street here. So that they really love that. The final thing that we did, and the one thing we did that really distinguished us from the other 38 states and the other 52 or so locations that were vying for this, is that we commissioned an economic study from the Colorado School, the University of Colorado Lead School of Business, Professor Rich Robican and his team. And turns out that they presented this substantial economic analysis. Their conclusion was that in the first 5 years of operation, this patent office would have a $440 million economic impact on the state of Colorado. And it was a tremendous thing, right? Because so think about it. I mean, now the sell becomes a little bit easier, and our pitch is, well, you know, this is in the day and age when you had economic stimulus and so forth and so on, and you have a situation where the federal government can provide a $440 million economic impact to the state of Colorado for zero taxpayer liability, right? Why wouldn't you do that? And that really became kind of a thematic approach to what we were presenting on the politics. We were also fortunate, I think, at this time to really have a presidential campaign going on, and to because this is the spring of 2012 now, and you had the president coming back here quite often, and so credit has to go where credit's due, and you go to the Governor Hickenlooper, you go to Mayor Hancock, you go to Senator Bennett, you go to Representative Perlmutter, Representative DeGette, and on at least 4 different occasions when the president would visit, these folks would be with the president, and these would the getting the patent office here would be one of the things that they would raise in the limousine, if you will, you know, coming in from Buckley, and they were just fabulous in terms of supporting it. They understood, you know, what it meant to have it here, and they were just absolutely working the politics. We didn't want to have another Detroit happen, right? We wanted to be in a situation where we could close the deal, get it done, and these guys were pushing hard every time they could with the administration. And so we were fortunate enough, I think, on July 2nd, 2012, that the patent office, the Denver Post broke the story. It was on a Sunday morning, and it was a lead article on the front page that Denver was going to get it. And then certainly it has moved well since then. Okay, so where are we currently? And I'll move forward here pretty quickly here. Permanent site has been selected for the patent office. It's going to be at the Rogers Office Building, which is 19th and Stout. That's close to the federal court house over there. It's a GSA-owned building. It's 1 block away, as I said, from the Fast Tracks line. The patent office is already here. They're operating at the Federal Center in temporary locations. They've hired patent judges to work out there. These judges are working with regard to appeals of patent applications that have been denied and certain other things, what we call post-issuance review processes. There's a lot of kind of administrative litigation that goes on in the Patent Office. The permanent location is expected to open up next summer, and it's a little bit of a delay due in large part to sequestration, and that's one of the unfortunate things that's happened, but it's going to open up in December. So where are we going? This is going to, what's the Patent Office mean to Colorado? It's going to bolster Colorado's reputation as a hotbed for cutting-edge technologies. The reputation, the outside perspective of Colorado now is different now that people know that we're getting the Patent Office here. The facility itself is going to have an interview facility. It's going to have state-of-the-art video conferencing, so if you want to interview your application, you don't have to go to Alexandria. You can go to the office and connect on a video conferencing schedule. Stakeholder outreach. That's where the Patent Office is going to educate and provide educational opportunities. And then there's going to be some pilot programs that are going to run here. We're hoping, one of the ones I was mentioning to Ed is, let's run a pilot program, and the Patent Office is behind this, a 1 month to issuance, right? Instead of having it take 3 years, let's see if we issue a patent in 1 month, whether or not that'll have an economic impact. Those are all things that are intending to come. So very quickly, what the future of the Patent Office holds for Colorado, and I think one of the things that is going to be critical here is one of the things that's excited for me, and it kind of fills in with this youth movement, is that the Patent Office is going to have, is going to support STEM education initiatives in our public school systems here in Colorado. And so they're coming in, and it's not only that they're going to be here and they're going to be working with patent applicants, they have specific programs that they work with public schools to support science, technology, engineering, math education. Inventorship competitions are going to increase here. There's going to be interaction along those lines. There's going to be, you'll see in the next few months that there'll be exhibits, patent exhibits that'll be coming through here to kind of raise public awareness. One that'll be here in the next 6 to 8 months is a fabulous exhibit that was in the Smithsonian about all of the patents that Steve Jobs obtained for Apple. It's a great exhibit, and so look out for that. So at the end of the day, you know, if you talk about the two final factors here, right? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? That's stakeholder outreach. Having the Patent Office come here to build those friendships, to build those partnerships, that's definitely going to happen. The final point is, you know, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And I think it will absolutely be beneficial to patent applicants in this particular region. But the most exciting thing, and the note that I'll leave you with, is that what excites me is once the Patent Office is here, looking at it from 10 years out, 10 to 15 years out, when you have kids who are going through school right now who are going to be entering our workforce in their 20s, and having grown up with the Patent Office being here and having a greater fundamental understanding of what a patent is, how it's used to protect great innovation, and how it's used to create jobs and innovation. Thank you.
John, thanks so much. Thanks for including the four-way test in your comments. You know you're on your way to becoming a Rotarian now that you know the four-way test. Thanks for sharing your enthusiasm, and we have a gift for you. This is a history of the first 100 years of Rotary, and this is a baseball from our annual fundraiser where we're raising money for Denver kids. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Mark Donovan and our newest member, Michael Armstrong, to the door so we can all greet them as we leave today. Next week's program is going to be Vincent Bertram, President and CEO of Project Lead the Way and Building America's Future, Students, STEM, and the Global Economy. You know, I was thinking today, how wonderful is it to be part of a club where we can have someone from England, India, Australia, are all at the same meeting. So thank you to you. Thanks to the High School Scholarship Committee for serving today, and have a great week. We're enjoyed.